Well, we're just about an hour and a half away. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush set to announce 3 p.m. Eastern time today, although he has kind of slipped that he was going to announce that he was running for president a few times. Critics say do not underestimate the former Florida governor. Even if you're not surprised, the former Florida governor has already received backing from 3 Cuban-American congressmen. Some are saying this could possibly be a blow to Senator Marco Rubio's campaign, and that's a great place to bring in our roundtable. Please welcome in spokesperson for the Tea Party Leadership Fund, Katrina Pierson. Also rejoining us, Mike Warren, staff writer for the Weekly Standard. Thank you both for being with us here today.
Great to be here. So
the mainstream media has seemed turned against former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, but voters are showing that they still have strong support for the former Florida governor. New York Times reports that we should not underestimate him, that he has an ability to raise large sums of money. His record is more conservative, according to the paper, and his family name is very popular among most Republicans. So let's start with you, Katrina. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one thing to, have this cloud over Bush because of the dynasty, but I mean, he's still polling high in a lot of the early polls. Jeb Bush is definitely going to have several hurdles, but I think the concern here, at least on the Republican side, is that you can't count out Jeb Bush, and that's a problem.
Now, when we look at this, Mike, though, there is a lot for Tea Party folks to like about Jeb Bush's years as a Florida governor, is there not?
Oh, absolutely, and that's the thing. Is that
we'll let you weigh in, Katrina, in a sec. Let's get Mike to weigh in on this first.
Sure.
Well, yeah, I think those 2 terms that he had as governor from 99 to 2007, he was a very conservative governor. He was a very effective governor. He did a lot of things with regard to education, affirmative action, social issues that conservatives can admire. The question really for Republicans now is that was a decade ago or more by the time Jeb Bush would be inaugurated president. The question is, what has Jeb Bush been taking positions on the issues of the Obama era? What of the last decade? Has he been conservative? What are those positions? What are those issues that he's passionate about? I think that's a big question mark for conservatives and for Republican primary voters, and that's what we're going to have to wait and see.
All right, let's also go ahead, Katrina. I know you wanted to weigh in as well.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, Mike's right. And the thing is, the issues are of what today. We're looking at a foreign policy situation and also the immigration issue, which is very, very important to Republican primary voters.
All right, well, let's take a look at the logo, which was released just yesterday. The former governor going with his first name and a big exclamation point. And I admitted I was surprised there's not a Spanish language version of this with an upside down exclamation point in the beginning. BuzzFeed pointing out Jeb used the same logo in 1994, but some folks will point to the fact there's no Bush involved in this. We know W ran with a big W as well.
Do you think that's very deliberate?
You think it's deliberate, not putting the last name on there? What do you think, Katrina?
It may be deliberate, but it's politics. It's a logo for him that's winning, so if it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's right. I worked for him as Florida governor. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of as you said, it was used in '94 when he didn't win. He used it in '98 and 2002 when he did win those governor's races. But a large part of Jeb Bush's sort of political legacy is trying to have it both ways, of having the pedigree of being a Bush and being from that powerful and influential Republican family, but also being his own man and his own politician. I think he's trying to do the same thing here. And by the way, I have seen from a photo from Miami of the upside down exclamation point in front of Jeb. So there are those Spanish language ones.
I would imagine that was coming,
well.
considering how he was going to try to play up his ability to speak Spanish and reach those voters, just like his brother did.
A lot of conservatives are concerned, though, about Bush's stance on Common Core and immigration. Katrina, do you think these will be obstacles for him? Do you think he'll have to shift more to the right? I think he will. Particularly, those 2 things have very strong activism in the states, even at the local level. And those are the people who are going to be out there attending all these events, all the meetings, and doing all of the groundwork during the primaries, particularly with Common Core. People don't believe in a one-size-fits-all scenario. We look at all of these issues over the past that have been this blanket answer through federal policy, and they're all failing. And people want back to states taking control. Mike, what are your thoughts?
I don't think those issues are going to end up sinking Jeb Bush. What will end up sinking Jeb Bush are 2 things. One, he's not that great of a candidate. I've seen him in a few of these forums, and it seems almost like his heart's not in it, and he's sort of struggling to seem that interested. The second is that there are a lot of really good Republican candidates, top-tier, A-level type Republicans running this time around. If Jeb Bush had run in 2012, when it was definitely a weaker field for the Republicans, he might have had a better shot. I think he's got these problems that, yes, have to do with these positions on these issues, but I think is a whole lot broader and a bigger problem. That is, Jeb Bush just doesn't stand out among all these other really good Republicans.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about Hillary Clinton and round two of our roundtable. So stick around, Mike Warren and Katrina Pierson. All right, we have more coming your way if you're watching Newsmax Now.
Prosperity can't be just for CEOs and hedge fund managers. Democracy can't be just for billionaires and corporations. Prosperity and democracy are part of your basic bargain, too.
And there you just heard Hillary Clinton pledging to close the income gap and rebalance the economy during her first major rally over the weekend that taking place in New York.
And we're rejoined by Tea Party leadership fund PAC spokesperson Katrina Pierson and staff writer for the Weekly Standard, Mike Warren. Good to have you guys back with us. As we take a look at Hillary Clinton hitting the 1% for their success here, we take a look at this. Is she in danger, though, when we take a look at campaign finance? Because Bernie Sanders has promised to run a very low-key campaign, reach out to the smaller donors, and we know Hillary Clinton is probably going to run one of the most expensive presidential campaigns in history. Is the bigger concern Bernie Sanders on the left? Go ahead, Mike.
I don't know. I mean, I think Sanders is, again, sort of presents an alternative to Democratic voters. I think that he might, excite some of those folks, but he's not going to have sort of the money and the powerful heft to really stick it to Hillary Clinton in the primary. But listening to Hillary there just now, there's so much irony there when her son-in-law is a hedge fund manager. So much
I think he was there too yesterday.
Money is going to be coming in for billionaires.
Yeah, I believe he was actually there at the event, just off stage as well yesterday.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Katrina.
Exactly. So I think she's got sort of a incoherence problem that I think Sanders is trying to take advantage of. But if he doesn't have the money to make the message, it can only go so far before it becomes a Republican attack line, and at that point, Hillary's going to win that media war every time.
Katrina?
Well, Mike is right. Bernie Sanders is just someone that's nipping at her heels, putting those things out there, probably trying to force her further to the left. But I don't think it's going to have a significant impact. And everything she's saying about the 1%, the income inequality, most of the hedge fund guys knows it's just words. These are just things she has to say to people. They know Hillary Clinton is going to take very good care of Wall Street at the end of the day.
Well, Bernie Sanders has warned people not to underestimate him. And we know, as you mentioned, Katrina, Hillary Clinton, when she was Senator Clinton, got a lot of support from those same hedge fund managers. Let's take a look at a new poll conducted by the Morning Consultant. That's the title there. Shows only a 10% margin between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, meaning Democratic voters may be leaning towards an alternative. Is this just some Democratic voters a little bored with Hillary Clinton, checking things out, or are these actually folks considering on looking at somebody else? Katrina, go ahead.
Well, I think that it's probably Democrat voters just trying to put that out there to show that Bernie Sanders can gain some traction. But if the Republicans are doing their job right and putting that out there in the media and holding Hillary accountable for her time in office, for her time in service, then that is an issue that can get out there to the mainstream. And then Bernie Sanders may become a viable option for some people. But that's if Republicans do their role.
Yeah, a pretty big if there, too. Now, switching topics, let's talk about Rachel Dolezal, an NAACP spokesperson or former spokesperson from Spokane, Washington. She has now resigned. But, of course, this story has been all over the headlines over the weekend. The woman accused of pretending to be black. The NAACP, again, says she has resigned. Let's take a listen to her responding to questions about her ethnicity right before her resignation.
The Spokane chapter of the NAACP posted a picture of Dolezal standing beside this black man who Rachel claimed was her father.
Yeah, that's my dad.
We are her birth parents, and we do not understand why she feels it's necessary to misrepresent her ethnicity.
Now, let me ask you first, Mike, is the bigger issue here the misrepresentation or the ethnicity? Because it seems to me like there's two different issues here.
this story seems like it's made for our time, and just the questions about identity and what is your identity and how do you define it, or can you identify? The whole thing is really bizarre. I think the biggest issue here is the fraud, is the fact that she was representing herself as someone she's not, and in fact making a career for herself based on somebody that she wasn't. I think that there's a whole lot going on in this story, and then the question about, is ethnicity this kind of thing that is malleable, that I can suddenly decide whether or not I'm black or I'm Hispanic or I'm white based on my personal feelings? I think is kind of a bizarre question, but this is kind of the state of things in America today, that we're actually seriously talking about them.
Yeah, Katrina, I have to ask you, do you think this is like an ethnicity crisis, or is this fraud? What comes to your mind? Because I really can't wrap my brain around it either. I'm with you.
No, I think it's both. I mean, I am black and white, and I don't even understand where she's coming from. So it's a big problem, but as Mike said, this is a story for our time. I mean, I can just see this playing out now. We have now seen the foundation of a new protected class of citizen, trans racism. It's one of those things that you do have to take a seat back and say, what's going on here with this story? And she has a lot of issues. This may end up being just a horrible case of psychosis, but at the end of the day, the fact that this even happened is one for the record books.
Yeah,
Katrina
perfect story for our time, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Our roundtable. Thanks so much.
And still more to come on Newsmax Now.